bring the whole fucking diseased, corrupt temple down on your head. It's gotta be biblical.
Hello and happy Saturday. Welcome to Patriots Across the Pond with Elisa and Stu. Today is our family Saturday chat, and this is where we get to invite you guys in, our followers, to come in live and chat with us and talk about your experiences and your awakening journey. How are you, Stu?
I've got toothache. My wisdom tooth is... Oh. I looked at my x-rays from a long time ago. I always get my x-rays a bit like Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse, right? And my tooth is there, and the wisdom tooth, it was there like it, but now it's like this in my mouth.
Oh.
Right? So I think over like the last 3 or 4 years, it's been going like that. So it's just something I've got to endure. Otherwise, I go and get injected with loads of stuff and every whipped out in the hospital, and I don't want to do that. So I just try and keep on top of it as best I can. But yeah, that's about it. Everything's funky dory. There's lots going on in the world, and yeah.
All right. So just a little disclaimer here. I'm having work done on my house.
Something else.
So it's a little crazy. So I'm probably going to have to jump off in an hour, but hopefully we'll get a lot of traction in that hour and different stuff. And I know Misty's here today, and she's going to kind of ride shotgun on this show for when I jump off.
Yeah, well, Misty is here, and we've also got someone else who's just joining, I think, for the first time. Chris.
Hi.
Hello.
There you go.
How we doing? Right, Misty, I'll just get that.
Can I also make a comment? You just said, Stu, about Roadhouse, and I am really dismayed at the fact that they would take a movie like Roadhouse and remake it with Jake Gyllenhaal, and I just sort of refuse to watch it on the basis that they shouldn't have remade it.
Yeah, they're remaking a lot of films, aren't they? And they're
no creativity
compared to what they used to be.
Exactly.
But at least they kept the actor a white male, didn't they?
Yeah, sometimes they switch, right? They switch the race, like what was that? The ones that they've done over. They've done a lot of them like that, and they make them like, in the black version, the Hispanic version.
Well, it's just wokery, but
yeah,
everyone's been found out for that. So we get hold of you in a minute, Chris. Misty, how are you? Regular on our show.
I'm doing great.
Good.
Oh, good. All right then. Right, Chris, welcome to the show. Whereabouts in the world are you, sir?
I'm from Adelaide, South Australia, Australia.
Oh, are you?
Wow.
Yeah, the land down under. So I've turned my computer screen upside down so you can see me properly.
What time is it there?
It's 11:30 at night.
11:30 p.m. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. I wake up at 4:30 a.m. in the morning, so.
Well, we're very honored.
I've missed a few times, and I wrote a comment, and then Stu said, set your alarm. So I went to bed and set my alarm.
Oh, that's brilliant. So, how's things in Australia? We've had Ricardo Bosi on before, and and I did see a video the other day. It's quite bad in Australia, isn't it? I don't know, but for this Mason element and the amount of pedophiles we hear are there in government and stuff. So how have you found Australia? And
well, funny enough, here in Adelaide, probably going back, if we go back to COVID when the lockdowns happened, we didn't get locked down much here. It was only twice, and the first time was about 5 days. And then the second time was about 7 days, but on that second time, I was working on a government site, so they allowed us to go back to work, so I figured that one out. And so, haven't really been locked down here. As far as, people waking up, no, people are really asleep here. I work in a civil company, so I get to drive trucks and bobcats and all that sort of stuff, but I get to drive trucks around to different sites, and so for years I've been waking people up, and just one-on-one, whether it's work sites or surveys when I stop to get fuel or whatever it is, and I just find that people just aren't waking up enough here, especially with the elderly people that live around me, or my parents, or they're just believing in the what they see on the TV, and they hate Trump, and it's terrible. Yeah. But I mean, I started probably 8 years ago. I had my cousin started sending me stuff about Fiona Barnett and Rachel Vaughan, and so I started watching those sort of videos, and then in 2018 they started forcing a flu shot on us all. And I said, you can stick the flu shot up your bum. I'm not taking that. And then when COVID started happening, I said, this looks familiar, like the flu shot, And there were 4 of us at my work that refused to take it. And, on the work sites, some work sites we had to go to, they started taking, because we didn't have COVID shots to get on the work site, they started taking photos of green bins and having that as our COVID shot. So it was just a big joke, really.
Yeah. Wow.
But, I'm part of Australia One, so I was a part of that, earlier on, and so I suppose I woke up a bit, with what I was learning from Rick, and early on I was watching The Fall of the Cabal. Someone sent me that. SGN on, I used to watch him weekly when he first started. It was just really comforting, to come home and listen to his voice, and and been down all the rabbit holes, of all the other bits and pieces, listen to people, and then all of a sudden I got sick of it all, them saying, this is going to be hot August, and Red October, blah blah blah, and how many times did we hear that? And so I ended up just deleting everything, and I went spiritual for a while. So that was a good thing, I think. Yeah.
Did you? So are you looking back all on this, into it all again now, or are you still on your spiritual journey?
Oh no, yeah, I did pop back in. I love listening to you guys. You're just really easy to listen to. I especially love this you do with the just average people. I reckon that's a great thing. Yeah. And I've watched heaps of them, but obviously being late at night, I was asleep when it was happening. But yeah, when I go to my spiritual sort of side of things, Kerry Kay, Ishmael Perez, the Alchemist Sarah, etc. But then I started getting into doing my own sort of homemade remedies, elderberry ciders and 4 Thieves vinegar and all that sort of stuff, and I find now, like people getting sick, just the normies, and I'm giving them these sort of natural remedies, and they're taking them, and they can't believe that something simple like this is working. So especially my mum, she calls me Dr. Chris. I call her Normie. But she was crook a couple of months ago, and I gave her some elderberry cider, and she couldn't believe, it fixed her within a day. So, just natural ingredients, that are doing the job. And I've lost a heap of friends through this too. Not through death, but they just thought I was, crazy when I started speaking all the stuff that I was learning. And so anyway, lost all them, and pretty much by myself, except for my cousin, and I've got a good friend Jane. That we throw stuff back and forth to each other. But as far as the people I've woken up on work sites, they're still not completely awake. They don't get on and listen to what we listen to. So they only listen to the information I've given them, and so it's very limited what they do know. And then something happened in the news, as I said, recently, and basically the normies started really pushing back against Trump and pushing against us that are awake. My local butcher, I go up and chat to him quite a bit when I get my meat, and I was trying to wake him up slowly, and then all of a sudden he's just really going against everything I said, and started getting quite aggro. So I thought, I better stop filming him. But,
do you remember what it was that this thing about Trump that sort of turned them all the other way?
Must have been something they saw on TV. Yeah, I don't know. I don't watch TV, obviously.
Same.
I don't listen to the radio. I don't look at newspapers. So my news is obviously just through different sites I see. But when I went spiritual, I didn't know what the hell was going on in the world. It didn't bother me. It was great to get away from everything. Just to have that sort of a break. But with the average person, like trying to wake them up. There was one lad, and I was trying to work out different ways to actually get him to wake up, and I started saying things like Nasara Jasara, and to get him interested in money, and then to lead him down the path that way. But all I found was they started becoming too money hungry, and really didn't care about the real reasons, about the children getting trafficked, etc. So that sort of fell in the hole quickly.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were like that. As soon as they started hearing about Nasara and things, they were, maxing out their credit cards to their own detriment, I have to say. I just watched an interview with General Stephen Cross, Josh Reed, and someone else, can't remember his name, but he's talking about this new system coming in that people will be at such an elevated level of spirituality and stuff, people won't be able to lie anymore. And I think that is definitely something we're moving into.
I can't wait. It'd be fantastic. I mean, what I've learned, with the through the spiritual journey, obviously, ascension and things like that, and what we've got, to look forward to. It's just fantastic. I try and, some of the normies that I've woken up, I try and explain ascension to them, and the 4D, 5D thing, and some of them are listening, and they're starting to even do a bit of research on the ascension, because they find that fascinating. The way I broke it down originally was, to explain that we're living in the false matrix, and let's say it's just channel 7, and most people are going to move to channel 9, and other people are going to move to channel 10, and to if your frequency's right, you'll tune into those channels, and that's the way I was explaining to them, and just what I've heard about the ascension through probably Ishmael quite a bit explains about it, and they're excited about all those things, especially to get away from the crap we're in now. But, our government here, like, they're all corrupt. When we did the 2022 election, and we were doing some things for the Australian One members who were just going as independents, and I did some scrutineering for one of the fellas, and that particular night when they were doing accounts, I caught them cheating, 3 or 4 times, and just basically getting a whole heap of votes and just hiding them under what they were counting and such like that. And it was disgusting. Some people caught on that particular night said they saw someone put a whole heap of votes in the car and drive off into a totally different direction they were meant to be going. So it's not only in America, it's everywhere. The cheating in the votes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is worldwide, this awakening, isn't it? Every country's got to go through this sorts of stuff, and we the people have got to stand up and unite together. That's why it's taking such a long time.
Yeah. It's also like the steps necessary to wake someone up. Like most of us woke up because we were pissed off, and we had enough of this, we'd had enough of that, or we realized there were lies coming here. There were like taking health into our own hands, something got us to get off the dime. And then we started going down rabbit holes and really awakening. And I think it's the same thing. Like I just look here in New York, and I'm just waiting for people to really take to the streets in protest. I mean, with the nonsense, with all these ridiculous rules and comments and mandates and stuff that, this new mayor in New York is doing. It's so, and I love how he does it, because I do believe he's probably, an actor, but he does it with this smile, like as he's saying, do you get it? Are you waking up yet? So I think that's what we're waiting for. Like we're waiting for people to just say, I've had enough, because people are getting annoyed. They're at the point of annoyance where it's like, this is too expensive and this is ridiculous. And the elections are crazy, but there's still so many that are they're just in their own bubble. And they just, it's tax day and we got to, get our taxes. But, I have to tell you, in my circle alone, I can't tell you how many people, it's like a ripple, because I start telling them my personal views and educating them. Like here in the States, people don't even understand anything about the Fed, that it's a private bank. And then you start telling them. And then you start telling them, and the first thing every single person is, well, if we don't have income tax, how are we supposed to fix the roads? And so then you have to educate them further about where that money is going. So I think the job of the White Hats has been so difficult, because they couldn't just throw a bucket of ice on everyone. And those of us who woke up for whatever reason, either from a young age or things just didn't look right, or COVID or 9/11, we've been the army to start helping them on the ground, so to speak. And it's frustrating. So I don't know if they're frustrated because they have so much that they're working on behind the scenes, that the more they could get done behind the scenes, it keeps the masses busy with all this like nonsense. But for us, it's so painful.
Yeah. And, we're watching the movie that is not for us. The movie is for them, right?
Yeah.
Attention. And I said before, didn't I? I'm pretty sure that when COVID struck, the White Hats watched how many people fell for it and thought, shit, we have got a job in front of us here.
Yeah. I mean, we were pushed through the ringer, weren't we? Because I remember doing the rallies in town, and I mean, the biggest one we got here in Adelaide was probably 25,000. It was just amazing walking with that amount of people. And but we had people on the side of the street just yelling at us, screaming, "Oh, you're going to kill our grandparents," and blah blah blah. And we were told not to, retaliate back against them, and so we didn't. We just kept on walking. And but I remember with my, I think Rick actually said something at one stage about the rally we had in Canberra, the capital city of Australia. And my nephew actually went to that particular event, and so he drove over from Adelaide, and he said, yeah, there were millions of people there, you know, in this rally, and he showed me photos, you know, from the sort of stage area, looking back, and it was just, you know, just a sea of people. But you never saw that on the TV. It was never on the TV. And I mean, recently with the fuel, unfortunately, a lot of people in my work have got fuel cards, so you know that didn't bother them. But they are starting to say things about, you know, electricity is going up again, and, you know, gas, and you know, the food's going up all the time. So they do say things along that line. But you know, I know my mum struggles a bit now with because things are getting very expensive for her. You know, she's on the pension, obviously, and you know, I offer to help her, but no, she'll just keep pushing through. But yeah, they need some major event to happen to wake them all up now, because it's just not going to happen. Yeah.
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 I think it's happened. Like, I don't know if this makes sense, because we're all spiritual here. I think something's happening with the normies. They know, they feel it viscerally, they understand it, but they haven't been able to actually, like us, bring it to the forefront and start fighting. But I don't think anybody is just moseying along anymore thinking like, all right, whatever. They're looking at the gas prices. They're looking at, you can't go to the supermarket. I mean, I can't believe how much everything costs. And then every time you turn around, it's like $1 more, you know. I mean, I had this lunch special like a year and a half ago at the local restaurant. It was like $14.95, you know, great. It's $16.95 now, you know, like all these little things you look at. And I think they feel it. I really do. But it hasn't propelled them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you just go and buy a steak here in Australia,
yeah,
the steak would probably cost you $9 for a steak. And, you know, like, that's just crazy prices. Whereas, you know, years ago, it was probably about $3, you know.
Yeah.
You could buy a steak for $3. But, yeah, I mean, I notice all those things because we're awake and we're aware of it. But I think people just, you know, like the normies, they just say, oh, well, you know, that's just inflation. And, yeah, and to try and get them out of that thought pattern, you know, I think they need a major awakening of some sort. You know, or don't know what the White Hat's going to do we?
Well,
it'd be nice to have that plan in front of us.
Yeah. Oh no, exactly that. But they've got to piss these people off more. Ultimately, I think that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, but unfortunately, we're going to have to go through that too. But anyway, so be it. You know, my cupboard here is I've got a separate cupboard which I just used to store blankets and things like that in, and it looks like a freaking supermarket. You know. But you know, I've been rotating stuff now since I don't know, probably 2021. You know, and that's, you know, I've been warning people, and like, especially my mum, you know, right in the early days, I used to say, oh, you know, it's all going to happen in May, you know, because we were told back then in 21 or 22, you know, that things were going to happen in May. And so now when I say things to her, she says, oh, yeah, the May event again. You know, so that's just our little joke now, even though she's not awake to everything. And I said, oh, yeah, something's coming up soon, Mum. Oh, yeah, the May event, you know.
Yeah, no, that's funny that. We've all learned not to date fag, haven't we? But that was a lesson for us.
Yeah. So, but, you know, I mean, this morning I went over and helped my elderly neighbour, and so I thought, oh, yeah, I'll sit there and you know, start talking about a few things. And I said, oh, well, you know, she just lost her brother a couple of weeks ago from Alzheimer's. But I said, oh, bugger that, Japan's going to get the med beds, you know, in a couple of weeks' time. I said, you know, it's a bit of a shame we're not getting it now, and a bit of a shame they weren't there a few weeks ago for your brother. And then I just led on from that story into another. You know, I've been trying to wake her up, and an old fellow I help as well. But you know, she just sits there and listens, and I think she takes in a lot more than, you know, even a lot of the blokes I've tried to wake up at work site. But Yeah. Basically, with all the natural sort of stuff that I've learned, like when chemtrails are going across, and you can notice, you're getting a bit fuzzy in the head, or you're getting a bit ill in the gut. And the blokes on the work sites, we see them all the time, just chemtrails going left, right, and centre. And so I've told them about zeolite powder, for the heavy metals and all that sort of stuff. And when the jabs first happened, I was telling people about MMS, to get that and start taking that in water. That'll get rid of the, a lot of the jab in your system. Because there was proof coming out on, that I found about different, blood shots that people took before and after taking the MMS, and it was clearing it out of their system. So, some people did listen. They did take that MMS and whatnot. And, black seed oil, just different things along that line. Yeah. So for those who took it, are saying they do feel a lot better after taking those sort of items. Yeah. But I have noticed recently a lot of people are starting to get cancer now. No one that I know has actually died, but the cancer rate has really increased a lot. And they just say, oh, we've got cancer, we just got to try and get through it. And so I help them. I grow a lot of sweet wormwood in my yards. I'll dry that and give it to them. And so here you go, take this home, make a cup of tea with it, and put some honey in it because it's bitter. And I've said, this will help you out. And so they start to do all that sort of stuff, and I'll send them links to stuff I've learnt to about ivermectin and things like that. So they do go down that path once they get the cancer. That certainly wakes them up.
Yeah. It sounds like you're doing a fantastic job. We're pulling wherever you can and giving people that. I said to Judy Mikovits the other day, and Elisa talked about this. The main thing we have learned, and Elisa and I have been awake for, over 20 years, but it's like when COVID struck, we really started to hone our knowledge on medical, better eating, all these sorts of things for our health. We've all got vices. We all have a fag every now and then, or whatever, glass of wine, whatever. But it's that, and trying to avoid, hospital and many white coats really as much as possible.
Yeah, I've improved my diet, and I have baking soda every morning when I wake up in a glass of water, and I have coconut water at night, and try to have an alkaline diet, and one of my last jobs I had prior to coming back to the civil job, I was just working in a building company just temporarily, and I had to have this medical, and so I was there and I was chatting to the nurse about different things, and when I was there, I was just starting to talk about med beds, and she had no idea what I was talking about, but anyway, none of them do. And I said, my body would be perfectly alkaline. And she said, okay, I'll prove that to you and see if you're correct. So, she did a bit of a test, and she said, no, yep, your body is perfectly alkaline. And I said, yeah, well, that's from what I do and how I treat my body. So she was pretty impressed with that. But, as far as information, like my cousin's been awake, for 30 years, and so she's fed me a lot of early information, which has been great, and the rest of our family, all asleep, and she was really happy the day she found that someone else in the family is actually awake. So
sorry, I mean, you said your awakening happened about 8 years ago, but had this other member of the family who's been awake for 30 years been mentioning things to you before you?
I was living in Port Lincoln back then, so that was 7 hours from Adelaide, and so I didn't really see Deanne or hear from her. It wasn't until I actually moved back to Adelaide that we really started talking. Yeah, not that we had any disagreements. We just didn't catch up with each other.
Yeah.
And then basically she started. Yeah, she'd come around for dinner. I used to hold dinner parties and whatnot. With the friends come around, and I said, come around. So Dan, come around. And then she started feeding me, the information with Fiona Barnett and Rachel Vaughan, and those sort of people, and there was a few others she sent me. But I started watching that, and then I suppose when COVID did hit, when I started talking about the stuff that was happening and how dangerous the shot was and etc., that's when she actually said, "Oh God, you're awake," and I said, "Yeah."
Mm.
But she's got amazing knowledge of what's been going on in years. All the family were going to lock her up at one stage. They thought she was batshit crazy. And, well, we are batshit crazy, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I went to the last funeral that I was at, and George's family that's from Miami. Now I talked to the wife, and we knew, we were both awake and all this stuff. But her husband, who I had never met, because it's George's family, he was like treading really lightly with me. He's like, well, I think part of the reason, because we're talking about the person who died. I mean, and he looked like he was afraid to say it. He's like, I mean, he's had a lot of vaccines. And I was like, you don't have to pussyfoot around. I was like, and he was like, oh, okay. And then, because I guess he didn't know like where I stood because we had never met. So it was actually funny to be on the other side of someone who was awake, not knowing I was awake, and like how they deal with, talking to people, which was actually refreshing because he thought I could have been a normie, you know what I'm saying? And then we realized we weren't, but I thought that was really cool because that was one of my first encounters with me not giving a lecture or saying things softly to people, so that gave me hope that there's people out there that are maybe just worried about how to phrase things or bring them up, or and maybe they're just more quietly awake. I mean, I hope. It depends where you are too, right? Because you're in an area similar to me where like there's they're so spelled and so asleep, and New York is terrible like that.
Yeah. Well, I say to people now, how many shots did you have? And they said, oh, 1 or 2. Yeah, I can't remember. I said, of course you remember. How you're going to forget that? I said, you've had 2 and you're saying 1 because you know you made a mistake.
Right.
And even boss now, years ago, I've come from a different company, just doing the same thing, but just in a different company. And he lied to me. He said, me and Peter, who didn't have the shot, and he said, "Oh yeah, I've only had 1." And then we found out he had 3, and we just gave him heaps. I thought, bugger you, mate. And but now, Johnny, he, since I started working with him again, because he thought I was just a fucking idiot, crazy person when I started saying all this stuff years ago to him. And now he's actually listening, and he said to me the other day, he said, I reckon I'm awake now, Chris. And I said, good, we'll keep listening. And so, there's a lot of people who regret having the jab. I remember when I first started going to work site, they were all giving me heaps, and they used to call me COVID Chris. And, I was just pissed myself laughing. But, now, you can see it when we're talking about how dangerous it is, and it's going to cause cancers and heart attacks, and, you can see the look in their eyes. It sort of scares them a bit. But, hopefully, the med beds come out soon and they can get their healing. First, they've got to get, the shit scared out of them. But then hopefully everyone can jump in the med bed and, get rid of that stuff in their system.
Yeah. I mean, well, if that is the case, because, you know, if med beds don't come out, you know, no one should be waiting for a med bed. Do you know what I mean? Everyone should be doing everything they can with the mindset of med beds ain't coming. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, I used to sneak MMS into my mum. You know, I'd take water around there and say, "Oh, you know, this is my purified water," and one day I put an extra amount in, and I filled up her glass, and she ran me later and said, "Oh God, I was on the toilet, you know, diarrhea. What have you given me?"
Purging, right?
So it's flushing out.
Yeah, I do think this is just my personal view that I've expressed a lot of times on our show. I do think that this was truly a coordinated strategic thing, because I think a lot of what COVID was a really big psyop, you know, to test and to see what people and where they were in the global population, awakeness versus, you know, still being spelled. And I do think in many ways, a lot of this cancer and a lot of what we're seeing could very well be the result of everything pre-COVID, you know, the flu shots, all these vaccines and medicines. And I think it's very creative the way they're basically bringing us back like 100 years ago in a way to before big pharma came along. And I don't think that like we are like, oh, there's all these great ways to heal yourself, but that's what they were doing for like thousands of years before they started calling them quacks. And so I think the white hats were like, okay, we have to let them see how bad this was, but we also have to start getting them to go back to all this stuff, because I think even with, you know, the med beds, I think there's so much that people could be healed from without a med bed, right? Like all the things you're doing and what we're all doing. So they had to retrain us. You know, some of us were like, I was very healthy but it upped like during COVID that much more. But, you know, I was reading labels and I was, you know, if I couldn't pronounce it, I wasn't buying it. But I think they were simultaneously doing a huge cleanup too. So that as we became aware, like everything was converging together. And then, but, you know, for how many years were people using, I mean, you listen to some of the old, those old like nursery rhyme songs. If you listen to them, they talk about vinegar. They talk like all these things are in these old cultural things that people did, you know, and the I guess the products or whatever you want to call it, like linen, you know, and all these things that heal. Had linen in the hospitals, and they used, you know, apple cider vinegar for a lot of healing things. And so we were like, oh, we could use this or we could use that. But really, we just over maybe 2-3 generations, it was washed out of our way of living. And now they have, you know, we're trying to bring that back. So a lot of people,
even copper pipes in the roof.
What's that?
Even copper pipes for water in your roof, you know. Now all the pipes are in the new houses are all plastic.
Yeah, it's all push fit now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a big copper tub, you know, like a 12-litre copper tub, that holds water. It's got a tap on it and all that. That I brought, and I have copper water every day. You know, copper's so good for you. It's you know, it basically brings a healing frequency into your body, you know, and it gets rid of bacteria, you know. They used to have it in swimming pools, and they used to have copper cups in hospitals, you know, back in, you know, the early 1800s or the early 1900s, should I say.
Yeah, that's my one.
I take copper vessels like that to work, or you know, if not, I put the copper water from the bigger vessel into a glass container and take it to work.
Yeah.
You know, it's really interesting. I've been watching just some old movies lately, whether it be, and you guys may not be familiar because they're American, but Misty, remember Columbo with Peter Falk?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So I watched these old shows, and then yesterday or the day before, I watched a movie from like 1972 with Jack Lemmon. It was called Avanti. I had never seen it before, and it takes place in Italy. And I literally was so sad because they had these practices that they were showing. They were trying to show the difference between American and Italian, and how the Italians took these 3-hour lunches, and they were making jokes about it. Oh, we can't, nothing's going to get done because we're on lunch. And the Americans were like, what are you talking about? And the way of life. But the one scene that really got me, and it's a comedy, it was whatever time it was, they had these close-ups of all the bells chiming, and he was saying, oh, of course you're not, every single church bell is going to be ringing at this time. And so you say, okay, 1972, right? I was a little girl. Some of us were just being born. It's not that long ago. And the change in how and this was Europe versus the United States. So the United States was already pretty corrupted from the way they're showing this movie, with no real respect for relaxation, for eating good food, for, they made a big deal about how they don't work in the movie. Literally the dialogue was, this is a Catholic country, we don't work on Sunday. Now, forget about everything we know about the Catholic Church for a minute, but it was the idea that they took a day off and everything was closed. And, and I remember maybe in the late 80s or the mid 80s, like we still had what's called the blue laws here, and the stores weren't open, and it was just, that one day a week. And then all of a sudden, then you started having, Little League and sports, and now everyone is like doing stuff. And then before you know it, the stores are open. And not only that, they're only open for 3 hours, but they're open till 9 at night. Like, we saw this huge shift that completely changed everything. And so if you go back and watch some movies from the 50s, 60s, 70s, watch what they eat. Like Columbo would walk around with a hard-boiled egg. He's like, oh, this is my breakfast. I don't know anybody with a hard-boiled egg anymore. Right? Like, because they vilified the egg, right, over the last 25 years. So it's very interesting to go back to those movies, because I think just because the culture hadn't completely changed, you'll see how now we're reverting back to a lot of those simple, basic, common sense kinds of things. But the church bell really got me, because I was thinking to myself, the United States has been, they've just had a war on the United States, whether it be the food or the way we live. But I'm watching this movie about Italy, which to us was like so far, and I'm thinking about all the corruption that's happened throughout Europe, the old world of Europe, and how they've even, all right, granted, you Europeans have like, I don't know what it is, 2,300 less ingredients in your food. So you still are much more ahead of America. But it's very interesting, because we could look at that into like a time, a little bit of a like travel back in time to see how far we've come from some of those basic values. And maybe now, as the awakened ones, we're trying to go back to that, Yeah.
Well, the elderly people live around here, though, they always say, oh, yeah, we grew up, we had no electricity, and, we used to, eat what they grew on basically, in their gardens and whatnot. And, it was a lot more healthier, obviously, to be in that situation. And, but, with the old movies or TV show, I mean, obviously, I don't watch TV, but if you do happen to see a movie now, you can just see all their symbolism in the movie. And it was funny, the other day I was looking at a movie, because when I go to my mum's, she always wants to put on the TV and watch stuff, and we were watching this movie that was back in the, I don't know, 90s, I suppose, and you could see a chemtrail. I thought, no. I thought, yeah, they put that in, because I didn't really notice chemtrails in the 90s, but
that's great. Well, I think what we've learned too in now, maybe not 5 or 6 years ago, because I think, and I'm speaking very broadly, I think a lot of us that were like going beyond and going down the rabbit holes. We're like, everything in Hollywood is satanic and this and that. But I think what we're starting to realize is that there was probably a lot more white hats also in Hollywood trying to give the opposite message, you know, and it was sort of this war of disclosure versus, you know, brainwashing. And, you know, if you look with open eyes, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with watching movies and, you know, being entertained if you're doing it with open eyes and you're able to like not get pulled into anything, any kind of, you know, it's hard, but I like to watch it and pick out these little things and, you know, feel educated a little bit. And I think that there were, you know, white hat operations going on, you know, with a lot of the messages, like you said, you saw a chemtrail or, you know, and you have to also wonder, because now I start to wonder how much of the subliminal satanic stuff was maybe the white hats trying to wake us up to go, what? Are they kidding? What's that about? You know, with because it's so ridiculous. And then of course the normies got brainwashed, but we were, you know, woke up going, wait a minute, I don't think it's supposed to be like that, you know? So,
well, they've elevated that, haven't they? Particularly over this last 8-9 years. If it was subliminal then, and the white hats were doing a lot of this, putting it in there so people would find it, and what's that about? You know, phallic symbols in Mickey Mouse and all that sort of stuff. Now it's so blatant, and then your face dark to light. You know, you talk to Catherine and Saproplex. This has been, and the Zoids and the, you know, bad language, all that stuff. This could have been humanity being manipulated because we've fallen so far in the past that maybe they thought it's going to take us 100 years to get us out of it. You know.
And they're psyoping us.
What was that? Sorry?
I said they're psyoping us every day. You know, one way or another. It's interesting if you're awake to try to pick those things out and notice them. But what I was just going to say, like talking about, you said, Chris, about your family and growing things and just the area. I don't know how much you know about New York, but it's been very, very, very urban for a long time, right? For hundreds of years, it's been very urban. So when my grandparents came over from Italy in the late 20s, 30s, like around there, my grandfather bought a building in Manhattan, and it was in Harlem, which is fairly north of, you know, Manhattan Island. And it's this urban area, 30 families in the building, tons of kids, all this. But in the yard, he had a garden, had chickens. And my father, as a kid in the, I guess, 1940-ish, his job was to go down and get the eggs in the morning. And they had, and he would make fun of himself when he would tell me these stories, like in the 70s, 80s, about his childhood. He's like, imagine we're in the middle of Harlem and I got to go down to the chickens. Like, he even lost sight of how special that was, you know, and how they kept that. It was just common sense. You have some self-sustaining stuff, you know, you live that way. They didn't know any different. And bless you. And he would make fun of, I think they had pigs, like in the, you know, like in this little yard, you know, in the middle of the city. And, and he would make fun of it like they were so backward, you know, his family was so backward. But I think if he had lived, he died in 2019, and he was pretty awake about a lot of stuff. I think he would have seen the shift. Like, wow, they really did have it together.
Yeah. I mean, when I was growing up, my neighbourhood, you know, it was the Aussies and the Italians, and my Italian mates used to go to their place, and you go out the backyard, and it would be, you know, a big pen with chickens and quails and things along that line. And they had a massive veggie garden.
Yeah.
You know? They'd make their sausages, and there'd always be meat hanging up in the shed. You know.
Yes, the cheese hanging.
Yeah. And so I got to eat some of that food, but see how they lived, and it was totally different from us Aussies. It was like it was a different world.
Well, they came from a farming, background, so they
Yeah.
didn't know any better, right? My father said he had like the baby grand piano in the apartment. It was like the railroad apartments, and there was like sausage and cheese like hanging like, above the piano. And his grandmother would go in there and like chop the string off when there was like time for lunch or something. But
yeah.
The culture, I know a lot of Italians went to Australia, I mean, look at Rick Bossy, his family immigrated there as well. So that farming mentality, came with them.
Yeah. And it was great, like we all got on well. And it wasn't like now. Like now people are just whinging about, the Indians coming into the country and the Africans, and that's all been done by design. We know that, but it's just madness. With the Indians, like I've noticed just in the past, probably 7 years, 6 years, the amount of Indians living around me now, it's just tripled. It's just crazy. And they all drive, fantastic cars. They seem to have a lot of money, and it's like, how come they've got this much money? Every time you hear about India, they've got nothing over there. But
right.
They're coming here and they've got heaps of money. They're buying the houses and they're driving the good cars. And the next door neighbours are Indian, but they bought another house. They moved out of this house, and this one's been vacant for 3 or 4 months. And now they're going to sell it. But so
I wonder, like, how did they? Right.
They must have some cash behind it.
I think there is a lot of money in India. It's just not distributed very well amongst the population. There's many rich people and stuff, and a lot of landlords in the UK are Indian.
Are they? Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting? 2 things. One, over here in the States, right? My best friend is a realtor, and she tells me these people, now the real estate here is very expensive. Like you can't find even a small house for less than $400,000-$500,000. Okay, and you're not getting much for that amount of money. They're paying cash. I said, where are they getting this cash? Gas is high, food is high. Where are they get? And it's not just, it's not just certain ethnicities. Like the Chinese are very, they've been known to pay cash, like literally in like a paper bag. Here's, $200,000, but it's everyone. And I just can't figure it out. And the other thing is, when you talk about a lot of the immigration, like there are certain neighborhoods, like I don't know how it is over in Australia, or Missy, you might be more familiar with this because you've been in, like different parts of the United States, but like you'll get the waves of immigrants, right? So maybe in the 1800s here in the States, you had a lot of the Irish that came over, then, the Italians and the Germans and the Catholic Irish, because they were always like separated. They had the Italians, you had the Jewish population from like Poland and Russia, and they had waves. So like as one new wave came, the other wave was sort of making it. And so they were moving out of those areas and into like maybe more, suburban and rural. So anyway, in Brooklyn, in New York, it was very Italian, very Jewish. Then it kind of started going to the Russians. Well, anyway, in certain parts of Brooklyn now, you have a lot of people from like Pakistan, right? And it's very different. The neighborhood's very different now. But one thing I've noticed, because these aren't rich people and they're not terribly educated people, they're doing what the old like Italians used to do. They have the fruit stands, they have like the markets, and you have to figure for the middle to lower classes that came over here, again, they had these values, of like food. And so we look at it as like, oh, the neighborhood's changed, because we can't relate to the culture, the language even. But I'm thinking back, I'm like, what did the Irish feel like, these Irish Americans that had been here, and then you had all these Italians coming in speaking Italian and with all their crazy food and their, their St. Rocco festivals with the, like, so it had to be the same thing, you're not used to the culture. But I think it's interesting to look at the cultures, not the ones that are coming in with the money, the ones that are just kind of the basic average people that are just trying to get by and raise their kids. They kind of come with that same value, of like food, fruit and vegetables and, fresh meats and all that kind of stuff. And I think we could learn a lesson from that perspective of the immigrants that come over, are trying to be part of America, whatever that means to them, not the ones you're talking about that come in strictly to bring their money, take over, exploit the system.
Yeah, we've got a lot of shops up the road here, and I notice now, like, and this is in like 5 or 6 years, a lot of Indians are buying all the shops up there. So the fruit and veg shop I used to go to, Italian lady used to own it, and she sold it because her husband died of a heart attack.
Okay.
And myself and someone else who used to go in the shop all the time, we woke her up, and then she realizes that her husband, died of the COVID shot. Or that led to, I remember I gave her some MMS. I sold it to her, because I had a heap of bottles here. And I said, here, this will help you. This will help you get better. And so she was taking it for a while, and then he stopped her and he threw it out. And said to her, you shouldn't have done that, Carmel. I would have bought it back off you. But the Indians are in that shop now, and they know me. They know what I like buying and all that. And I go in there, and they're not awake, and I start waking a few of these girls up that serve me at the checkout, and they said, "Oh God, you're knowledgeable. How do you know all this?" And I said, "Oh, just lots of hours spent on the computer." But I mean, with the changes, it's happened really quick, and I suppose, like when I was growing up, the Italians were here, so that's just part of my normal life, But when we had a lot of Vietnamese, move in, and so they became a big part of our sort of western suburbs here, and but they were in a certain area, but they are now spreading out a bit, I suppose. But the Indians were just nothing. I've got nothing against Indians or anything, but
of course,
it was just like a massive hit. It was just like bang in your face, and it's just like everyone noticed it.
But here's the thing: like, I'm not anti-immigration because I'm going to preface this because I grew up in when I was in school, like in America, unless you're in a very small town or a certain section, if you're in the city, you don't know necessarily, like even if your neighborhood is Italian or it's Irish or it's we all have everybody that's different culture. So like in my little friend group, we had someone was from Puerto Rico. One of the girls was Black. I was Italian. We had Irish, and we had someone that was from Lithuania. Like, so we all were in each other's homes. We got, without knowing it. Do you know what I'm saying? We just took for granted. We grew up with all these different cultures, different foods, different musics, but everybody had one thing in common. They were American, and they came here because they wanted the same thing. They wanted a better life. They wanted their kids to get, at that time, what they thought, a good education, have good prospects for the future, etc. The problem with the controlled immigration and the cabal narrative is that they want to disrupt the culture. So like if England, for instance, where you're, at one point everyone was the same, right? Or Italy or Ireland, whatever. And then immigrants come in and they go in because they say, wow, I really love this culture and I want to assimilate to it and I want to understand the language. And yes, I bring part of what I bring because it's part of who I am, but I'm also assimilating. Then that can be quite lovely, right? It would be lovely. You have I mean, what would the world be like without pizza? You know what I'm saying? Like if it was just Italy. So, but the point is that they've done it to disrupt and to denigrate the culture that's supposed to be growing. And in the last, wherever it's been, you know, throughout the world, it's been this huge influx to disrupt and destroy. And that's what the problem is, because America wouldn't be what it was if we didn't have all these cultures. But in the last 25 years, the cultures that have come in have not really wanted to assimilate and grow the beauty of what it means to be an American. They want to denigrate it and make people feel guilty for being American and all that whole narrative that goes with it. And as such has been done throughout Europe. And that's what the problem is.
Yeah. Well, something interesting. Misty said she wants to share something.
Oh, yeah.
To piggyback on what you're talking about here, I just want to give a little small example. When I was growing up, I come from Canadian French ancestry. My grandparents were from Quebec, and they spoke fluent French. My father spoke fluent French, and they migrated to Maine. And because my dad was in the Navy for 20 years, we lived in Connecticut, and I was used to being around different cultures, because when you're on a naval base, you know, there's the Filipinos, etc. Back then, I'm 64. So, you know, this was back in the 60s into the 70s. Now, flash forward, the little town of Lewiston, Maine, where my grandparents were, we moved back to in 1973. And when I say a small town at that time, under 10,000, but, you know, it had a couple of grocery stores, it had some big box stores, and over time it grew. Well, flash forward today, and I want to say 25, 30 years ago, the Catholic Church, specifically St. Peter's in Lewiston, Maine, big, huge Catholic church, because the town was predominantly Catholic. And keep in mind, in growing up, you know, we were mainly white, but it was a lot of, you know, Irish, Catholic, French Catholics, predominantly French Catholic, but there was some Italian people and what have you. But the Catholic Church brought in Somalians, and they were being paid $10,000 for every Somalian that they brought in. And so overnight, you had a culture coming in with, you know, the Sharia law and the face coverings or the head coverings and what have you. And then they started getting money for businesses to start them up, getting free vehicles, etc., because there were NGOs feeding them that on top of the Catholic Church. And then before you know it, if kids in school were eating a ham sandwich, there was a problem. And then these kids at graduation time, because they had so many kids in their family, they were advocating that they get every one of their family allowed to come to the graduation, whereas the people that had lived there their whole lives only were allowed, we'll say, 2 people or 4 people to come and watch their graduation. And this was pushed on them. And unfortunately, a lot of the locals were like, well, what are we going to do? And our church is telling us we have to welcome them with open arms. Wow. So then became the drugs and the crimes and the elitist attitude and arrogant attitude that they would display on the community. You can't do anything because, you know, we're protected. And if you do, you're racist. And that has destroyed that area. But unfortunately, because there were so many sheeple, my father and mother not being one of them, that this was allowed to happen. And if you magnify that across the country, that's what's happened.
Yeah.
And that culture is not compatible with just humane cultures in general. They don't like dogs. It's okay to rape children. It's okay to marry children. All these things that libtards just don't want to acknowledge. And that has happened. Now, to give you another example, I live in Hayesville, North Carolina, which is Western North Carolina, and it's a rural area. But if I want to go to a big box store, I can get there in 40, 45 minutes. But in the next town over, in the next county, they have what is called a homestead group, and it's a group of women, and women that do their own farming, in whether they have just a small amount of land or a big amount of land. But they gather once a month and they give workshops on how to grow your own food, how to protect yourself if water gets shut off, or how to build a fire with a bag of Doritos if you don't have any, fire starter. Just all these things, and they're sharing. And you pay a membership of $25 a year, and you walk away. When you attend these things, you can buy eggs, you can buy soap made from goat's milk, all this natural stuff. And it's like, we need to be teaching our communities more that, more importantly, this kind of thing needs to be in our schools. Mm-hmm. Because the answer to buying food is not, well, the grocery store has it. And I'm not saying that everybody has time for that, but think about it. Like for myself, I don't grow. I have plenty of land. I have a farm. I have horses. I keep them fed and happy, and I grow flowers, but I'm not much into growing vegetables. And the reason why is if my neighbors aren't giving me vegetables, I know exactly who to go to buy fresh eggs, to buy fresh vegetable, to buy fresh chicken or beef, because there's cattle farms around. And unfortunately, you have to move out to the country to get all of that. And we need to be moving a lot of this stuff inward to suburban areas, because unfortunately, people just don't have a clue that that's how you can live.
Yeah, I want to go back to what you said, though, about the immigrants. When most of our age, say 50s, 60s, our grandparents came over to America or, immigrated and, from like Canada, whatever. These people wanted so badly to come to this country. Mm-hmm. They would wait for quotas to change. My grandmother, she was pregnant, and my grandfather came to America in 1920. I don't know, the teens. And then when he got here, they were like, oh, sorry. And she was waiting like a few months. So the baby was born and she was okay. Sorry, you got to wait 7 years. The quota's shut for people coming from Italy. Mm-hmm. She had to wait there. They had to wait there. My grandmother didn't know her father till she was 7 years old. But they wanted it. They wanted to come. They had a vision. There was a sense that we're going to have a new life. We're not going to be poor. Our children will do better than us, et cetera, et cetera. These people, they're just bringing them in. They bring them in. It's the lowest, like Trump says, they're emptying their prisons and their whatever else with the lowest of the low to disrupt so they could destroy this country. And you can see so clearly now, maybe not then per se, a little cloudy, how the Catholic Church, right, was just a biggest part of this whole thing. Mm-hmm. Right? They're under the guise of being loving and Christian, and you're a sinner, so you have to do good stuff, when really we know now the power structure of the world and where they fit in. And they have systematically destroyed all this. And, even with what you were saying about their not melding with our value system. Yeah, that's not our value system to, marry. Listen, I had a cousin, I don't want to digress too much, but I was talking about this last night. I had a cousin who married in the 70s She married a kid, you know, early 20s. He had come over from Iran, and he worked in whatever. I don't want to get into it, but the family of my cousin was mobbed up. Just keep that in mind. And but he worked in the store, and he was a nice kid, and they liked him, and they, you know, invited him in. Anyway, he ends up marrying the daughter of, you know, the people that owned the business. And she, you know, they get married, they young, 22, whatever the hell they were. She gets pregnant. She has a baby, little boy. He wants to go see his family now in Iran. Okay. And they're kind of like, well, you know, the baby's still young. Maybe you shouldn't go. And, oh, but, you know, we're going to go. She goes. Long story short, she became a prisoner. Okay. She became a prisoner, couldn't use the phone, couldn't get phone calls from her family. She found a priest somehow, smuggling letters. Like, they would literally call on the phone. They'd be like, no, sorry, she's not here. Okay. She lost like 35 pounds, emaciated. The priest explained to her, you have no rights. You're in his country. Women have no rights. You have no rights as a mother, no rights as a wife. He can kill you, and there will never be any questions asked. And you cannot take your son anywhere. Okay. So the family got together, right? These are like mobbed up Italians. They said, all right, maybe we can go and talk some sense into him to let her go. And they go over there. Now he's got this whole family too, and they're wealthy. And he says, okay, she can leave. She can take the baby. He was maybe a year. I don't even know. They get on the plane. Once they're on the plane, people with guys with machine guns come onto the plane and say, she can go. The baby's staying. And she was, of course, hysterical, you know, but the family was like, we need to get you well. They took her home. And this went on for like a decade, where she was meanwhile, the kid has blonde hair. So figure that out in Iran. But there's this nice American woman who sends you gifts and stuff like that. And until he got to the age of 12, where they can have the right to draft them into the army, at least at the time, this was in like the late 70s, early 80s. That's when the husband called and said, we need to get him out. Is it okay? And this kid didn't like take a jet plane to the States. He had to like crawl through dirt in Turkey and, you know, go get smuggled out. The point is, that's the kind of culture that's coming into this country.
Absolutely. And I have a friend from Iran that he came here. He was sent here by his parents because he had an aunt and uncle here in the States. His uncle had gone to Georgia Tech, and he was 8 years old because his parents were so afraid that the Ayatollah was going to draft him into the war, because that's what they were doing, that he was sent to the States. They let the aunt and uncle adopt him. And they told him that you're going to visit your uncle on vacation. And he thought he was going on a vacation. He would be back to his parents. But in reality, his aunt and uncle were saving his life. Yeah. And he lives here today. And he's a very famous public speaker. And he's writing books on some of the oppression in Iran. But a lot of the stuff, he's got to be careful, because there's still people and family members that they will kill for him, you know, revealing all of this.
It's awful. I will say one thing, though. So they get back to the States, and now the family is prepared to go there, right? They got a lot of people, knock this guy off and get the kid. And she said, I can't have you do that, because someday he grows up and he's going to say, like, know that his mother had his father killed. Like, so she withstood this for whatever length of time until he came to the States. But my point is that this culture has been, and if you talk to Iranians, that's not their culture.
Right. The Persian people aren't like that.
Nope. They were hoodwinked and
most of the Persian people Christians.
A lot of them, yes. My friend David is Christian.
Yeah, and when you know, it all happened, you know, 47 years ago and stuff, that's when Islam came into that country,
Mhm.
and all these rules came in. This is what Trump and the White Hats are liberating these people from, and many other
Yes.
countries as well, from dictators.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. It's not Muslim, but
You
it's
know, I've mentioned this before, but I've got two friends, Lindsay and Craig, married couple. It was about a year and a half ago, I think, maybe a month or two before that. It was before Christmas. They were posting all over Facebook. They were doing a round the world sort of like motorcycling trip, and they were going here, there, and everywhere. And then they were going to go through Iran, and then into Pakistan. I actually think they might have been reasonably lucky, because I think Pakistan might have been worse for them, as a white woman cycling around on a big motorbike with her husband. But they got nabbed. They were arrested at Christmas, not this one just gone, the one before, and they've been in jail in Iran ever since, on charges of espionage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll make stuff up.
And her son, Joe, we were trying to get him on our show to see if he could get the word out, but I think obviously because there's so much legal procedures in this, and because he said he wanted to get Trump involved, I said, come on here, then we'll do what we can for you. But obviously he might have been advised legally that don't say things you shouldn't say and stuff like that. So that, he's been to number 10, I think, and put positions in there and stuff. But yeah, they're not in the best way in an Iranian jail. Separated as well, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible, isn't it?
I mean, we all would like to think that with Venezuela and Iran and Cuba and all these places, that the level of controls are going to change. Do you know what I'm saying? And that these people will be freed, let go, safe, whatever, and that it's on the radar. It can't not be on the radar, but it's a matter of how they get to these, how it trickles down or whatever to save them, because I can't imagine that any of this stuff is, not going to be eradicated or, fixed. I just can't imagine it's not on the radar of the military. They know if we know what's going on, they certainly know much more than we do.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, look, we're hearing loads of stuff coming out of Iran. Whether it's actually happening now, we're being given a presentation of a lot of stuff, that deals have been made, and people have been taken out, and this is a public wake up. Trump never gives his plans away, so when you hear Trump saying, "Oh, we're going to bomb Iran tomorrow" and stuff like that, he's probably not. But if this is all being done over a long period of time to move us into a golden age where there is no countries ruled by Zionist dictators and the cabal, I'm pretty sure they'll be coming home soon after that. But we can just manifest that. But there's nothing more I can do apart from send love and put them in my prayers while I'm in England, and they're there. And a lot of people said to them, "Don't go."
Well, a lot of people don't want to admit that culture like that could be so bad, and that they would do these types of things. But I've met countless people that have fled communist countries or regimes like this from Iran, because I know other people from Iran, and what we know to be true is true, but so many normies, they just can't see the forest through the trees. And I don't know if you take 10 more years or decades to get all of this done, how it's going to get done, because some of the existing people, especially if they have Trump derangement syndrome, they just can't think for themselves. They're so blinded by hate and propaganda.
Yeah, I know.
And one of the things, and don't get me wrong, I think the world of Trump, but when he says something like the economy's good and this, that, and the other, at the end of the day, people aren't feeling it. They're just not. you know, and it's like, well, if I want to go out to dinner, that salad I paid $14.99 for is now $16.99. And do I want to spend that? And they don't really feel that there's any way out. Just like some of the MAGA Republicans, talking to them last week, they don't see that there might not be midterms. They still feel that the election will be okay, even though we haven't cleaned up everything. And they still feel that, you know, I was asked, why isn't Fauci been arrested? And I really don't understand why the White Hats and Trump can't do that faster and very public, because I think that would wake up a lot of people.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, drip, 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 drip. And like, people will be in the hospital. The people I know, if you really put the truth out there and it comes from the mainstream media, they're going to believe it, because right now they still don't break away from it. You know, there's so many, especially over 50, that aren't on alternative media, like podcasts like ourselves. They don't go to whitehouse.gov. I mean, I've given demonstrations in meetings about whitehouse.gov. And then the next thing I know, they're asking me a question, and I'll pull it up and I'll go, have you been here yet? No, I really haven't, because they still go back to their old sources of information, even though their old sources of information have been proven to have lied to them.
Yeah, it's Stockholm syndrome, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's the normies, isn't it? You know, like whatever I tell the normies, like especially, you know, to my mum or the elderly neighbours, because I know they watch a lot of TV, and you know, whatever I tell them, you know, that's just crazy stuff. You know, whatever they hear on the news, that's what they believe. And you know, I would like to know, you know, in that period of time when they were really starting to bag Trump, you know, just the normies, the older ones, what they were actually saying on the news, because you know, obviously, like I said, I don't watch the news, but they even the old butcher down the road, he was having to go at Trump too. You know, it's so it makes you wonder what the White Hats are doing. You know, what sort of cycle they're putting on the TV to get these people, you know, to speak out like that. And yeah, it's the other thing too here. We don't. Well, I don't hear any normies talking about the war, Iran war. No one talks about it. So whether, you know, it's not on the news much here, I don't know. But maybe I should watch the news one night to see what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I see all the stuff on Telegram and all Twitter and all other places and stuff. But you know, I haven't watched TV. But I've said to people that, and it's got to be the hypnotist that undoes the hypnosis. You know, so it's, if they've been brainwashed by the BBC or whatever channels you've got in Australia, it might have to be those. If the White Hats flip the switch, or they've got nowhere to turn, it's them people telling on themselves. It's going to be, that is going to be a beautiful moment for us, but it is not going to be for them.
Yeah. You know, I also think that we keep saying, it is the unboiling of the frog, no question, has to be slow. And I think we're fooling ourselves if we think it's going to be like oh wow, they're going to make an announcement. It's happening slowly. Because if you went back 5 years and looked at the mainstream news and you look at it today, it is completely different in so many ways and what they're saying. So it's happening, you know, it's all very psychological. They have to do this in a way that people don't know they're being reprogrammed. And unless there's an EBS where they come out and say certain things, but even if they have an EBS, I don't think it's going to be all inclusive. I think it's going to be maybe one or two key things that will resonate, because you'll lose people. They won't be able to absorb it. So I just, I apologize because I'm having this work done. I'm going to have to get off in like a couple of minutes. I know, Misty, you're going to be my wing girl here with Stu. And so I want to thank you, though, Chris. It was so nice meeting you. I'm so glad you did join us and
Yeah.
get up
Great chatting to you, Chris.
like you're here.
Sorry, what was that?
I said you had to get up so early, but we're so happy that you joined us.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah. First guest from Australia, apart from Ricardo.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
that's amazing. Yeah, Elisa, what's going on in your house then? Are they, have you got to move the dust sheets or something?
Yeah, they're like moving, so I have to take over some of the dog duty now because my daughter's been doing it. She's gonna have to she's been sitting there, so I just have to kind of relieve her a little bit and let her.
Sweet. All right, if you go then, I've just got a cut. Well, no, before you go, actually.
Yeah.
Right. Because I just wanted to say about this, talking about Mandami, right? And how we were celebrating it. Mandami has just put this out, right? If you have a second home in New York City worth more than $5 million, check your mailbox when you're back in the 5 boroughs because you've got mail. Today we sent notification letters to property owners letting them know that our new pied-à-terre tax is coming soon. The best city in the world deserves the best parks, libraries and schools in the world, and that's only possible when we all pay our fair share. So, right, what do you think about that? That is a beautiful thing, don't you? That he's now just pissed off he's working for the White Hats and Trump.
Yeah. I mean, $5 million sounds like a lot of money, which
But not in New York.
Not in New York. I mean, these buildings are $5, $10, $15 million, especially if they're multi-dwellings. And so that pretty much affects just about in Manhattan anyway, and even in the boroughs where they own these big buildings, right? So that's everyone. So they're giving it to them right in the pocketbook.
Yeah. And I just want to show you 2 more little videos. I can't remember if they've got the same little bits in them, but this is a turn up for the books, and this is another beautiful thing from Mandami.
Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal, the architect of a horrific genocide against the Palestinian people. He is responsible for the killing of more than 73,000 people, for the maiming of tens of thousands of children as those who survive undergo amputation without anesthesia, for the targeting of neonatal hospitals and maternity care centers, denying newborns even the chance to live, for the countless people he starved as he blocked food and humanitarian aid from reaching them, for the gunning down of hundreds of aid workers and journalists. And just last month, the UN confirmed that Palestinian children continue to be deliberately targeted and killed by Israeli armed forces, more than 8 months after the so-called ceasefire. The list goes on and on, all as we, as Americans, pay for the bombs that do the killing. There is a reason the International Criminal Court issued a warrant for his arrest. As human beings, we have spent generations building a shared understanding that there are crimes so grave, they offend all of humanity. Anyone, with their eyes, with their heart, with their conscience, should recognize the devastation he has wrought and understand that he belongs before a court of law. As I've said, I agree with the ICC that Benjamin Netanyahu should be arrested and tried for his crimes, as I do for anyone else charged by the ICC. My administration has reviewed every avenue available under applicable law to determine whether New York City could execute the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant if Benjamin Netanyahu came here. It is clear that we do not have the independent legal authority to enforce this warrant. The federal government, however, does, and I call on them to join the ICC and execute this warrant. And I want to be equally clear. Benjamin Netanyahu is not welcome in New York City, nor is any other war criminal at large. While we cannot end the genocide on our own, we can decide whether our silence will become another weapon, and we can examine every tool we have to defend the humanity and dignity of all people. That is my commitment to you. When it comes to Benjamin Netanyahu, we're speaking about someone who's the subject of an International Criminal Court arrest warrant. And he's the subject of this arrest warrant for alleged crimes against humanity, for war crimes, and he's the architect of the genocide against Palestinians in Gaza as Israel's prime minister. These are not facts of my personal assessment, they are facts of public record. And I believe that when someone is charged with an International Criminal Court warrant, it's something that should be taken seriously, whether it's Benjamin Netanyahu or it's Vladimir Putin or whomever else. What I've also made clear is that my administration will follow all applicable local laws. That is our commitment. That is something that we will follow through on when it comes to an adherence to local law. And that's all I have to add on that.
Thank you. And now we're going to go to Heather from News 12.
Are you looking at arresting anybody else on that list of people who've committed international war crimes?
My point is that if someone is charged with a warrant by the International Criminal Court for these kinds of crimes, that's something I believe that should be honored. And I've also said that we will follow our local laws.
Thank you. Last question.
What about that?
So I have one comment. You've got such a big Jewish community in the States. They've been brainwashed, as have non-Jews, that anytime you talk about a Jew, you're an anti-Semite and all this kind of nonsense. So they have to have that come from somebody who is believed to be a potential Jew hater. You know what I'm saying? They have to prime the pump with that.
They sure have.
And Trump can't say anything about this because he is so pro-Israel, our friend, and all this kind of shit. Although he's come out and said stuff about Netanyahu. And I believe he's come out and said it because they were testing the waters. You know,
yes.
People reacted. But it'll be very interesting because you have a whole segment of the city that hates this man, meaning Mandami. And then you have other people like us who get it. And I think they're also trying to, in my opinion, I'm sure there's a lot more 5D chess going on than I could even imagine, but I'm sure they're also trying to test the waters to see. This is the mayor of New York coming out and putting out such a broad statement. They also started putting some of the actual stuff. You know, it has nothing to do with him being Jewish. It's like what's going on, the children, this and that. And I think they want to see what the uproar, if any, and how much is going to come from those communities. Or are they going to are they already kind of seeing that this isn't a really good guy? Because that's the first step to Israel's last.
Yeah.
Because the whole system.
Well, Trump had him in his office, didn't he, and all that. He says, yeah, you can call me a fascist if you like, just tell him and stuff. But we know that Trump can't be the ones that are coming out with this, and this is why Trump has always kept Israel as, you know, close in his words. But he's even said, fuck Netanyahu, you'd be in fucking jail if it wasn't for me, and what the fuck are you doing, and all this sorts of stuff. So he is going that direction, and we are seeing Israel for last. Yeah. And it's an amazing thing. But Trump, you know, has to be neutral, doesn't he, as people begin to be indicted? We were told in 2017.
Yeah.
Now, and he also has mentioned the international courts, which we usually don't hear that in the news.
Yes.
And crimes against humanity, that word.
Yes, because, you know, we've heard about the International Criminal Court that Tony Blair was found guilty a long time ago. You've got Bill Gates over there in the Netherlands at the moment, you know, going through this thing. These things are all coming out. So you might see arrest warrants coming out this International Criminal Court, right? Rather than, you know, the US military lifting people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a beautiful thing to watch, isn't it? Play out.
It is.
Right, just before we go, Elisa.
Yeah.
Can you just talk about the Awakening Summit? Misty wants to hear
about
that.
Yeah. So just announcements. We're the website's being the website is theawakeningsummit.org. It's under construction right now to have all the information about our upcoming Awakening Summit in October. The date is going to be October 16th through the 18th. We have moved it from Sedona, Arizona to Clearwater Beach, Florida, which is near Sarasota, just to West Coast, give you a little bit of a sense. I think the airport is Tampa that you'd fly into. And we have we're going to be, you know, announcing more with this, but those are the basic facts. I think, I'm not sure, Stu, is the hotel, like the hotel's booked, but are we all set for people to book rooms? I know we have a block.
I'm not sure yet.
We probably need like another week. We're finalizing everything like all at the same time. The good news is that almost, except for geographic, you know, where it was just too hard geographically with other commitments, mostly all the speakers are going to be there, and more that we've gotten since we moved the event. So just mark the dates, October 16th to the 18th, Clearwater Beach, Florida. The hotel is the Wyndham. And we will, you know, you'll be the first to know from our show and others that when the website, you could keep checking back, but the website's being updated with all the speakers. It's being updated with the ability to buy tickets. We're going to have a couple of different tiers. Just kind of your basic 3-day pass ticket, as well as some add-ons where you could actually get meals. If you want breakfast, if you want lunch. We're going to be having like it's not necessarily a gala, but we're going to be having a dinner as well that people can buy their ticket to include that. So I just want to make sure everyone has the dates, they have the location, and probably within the next week, we're going to have a lot more information, and hopefully our website will be up to date.
And I think at the moment, I won't give all the names out, but we've got between 30 and 35 speakers.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll announce that. As soon as the website's up, we'll start announcing all the speakers.
When is our next Zoom meeting? Is that on Monday or
Yeah.
Tuesday? Yeah, we've got an early meeting this week. We might be able to give out a lot more information after that.
Yeah. And
Will
Misty,
that be online once it's done?
What's that?
Will that be online once it's been
yes, it will, but
that people can watch it online?
Yeah.
Yes.
There will also be a live stream as well that I think
Thank
you can
you
watch.
for bringing that up, Chris. It will be available virtually for those who can't get there. I don't know.
I mean,
It's not around the corner.
Yeah, it's far enough for me to get there, but it's a lot longer for you,
Yeah.
Chris, isn't it?
And just so everybody knows,
upside down.
the virtual ticket probably will not be available in the first wave. It'll probably, because, we're going to be focused on in-person tickets. It will be available virtually, but if you don't see that right away in the websites, because it'll be like the second wave. But it will be available. And Misty, I know you so kindly volunteered to help. So I'm going to be talking to you this week, because I think we have a job that you could help us with.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you go to theawakeningsummit.org, it will take you to the old website, because the new website is being built in the background. So you'll only be able to see
the old event.
Previous. Right?
Yeah.
And
Can I ask, Stu, we have a lot of information that comes in on the show too. That can you put a lot more links down below that people can possibly click on to go to those sort of sites and whatnot?
Yeah, we'll try and put a few in, but we will. I mean, as soon as we announce it, I mean, our website designer, he's a mate of mine, he's got to pretty much have it done by Thursday of next week. We're talking about merch at the moment and all these sorts of things.
Yeah, I'll keep looking in, because I'm curious to see what merchandise you're going to have.
Yeah, well, I've designed a nice T-shirt and stuff like that, but we found a shop through Mark Abrams out there, and we're struggling to get images and stuff that we can load the design onto to put for sale on the website. So, maybe they're as laid back down in Florida in Clearwater Beach as they are in Australia, right?
All right, guys, I'm going to say goodbye, and God bless you all. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you on Monday. I'll see you on Monday.
Yeah, we've got a big round table on Monday.
Yeah. Okay, take care. Have a great weekend.
See you later. Right, that's
Are
good.
you going to do tank tops, Stu? Tank tops?
No, I don't think so. I just think there's going to be. Well, we're still trying to get this store to respond to us. Mark Abrams is local to him, so he's got all the details. I've had a couple of emails for them back, but I think there would be T-shirts, hoodies, a bag, like a beach bag thing, mug, stickers, and a baseball cap. I think that's what there is at the moment.
Right. Because if you do tank tops, I'll buy a heap.
Well, I'll tell you what.
To wear down the beach when it's summer. Like, it's winter here at the moment. It's freaking freezing. But, I was so wishing the summer would come quickly. I just love the 40-degree weather. So, I mean, in America, that's probably 105 degrees. But, I love the heat.
What do you call a tank top? Like a jumper without sleeves?
Yeah. It's like it's got no sleeves on that.
No, but what
I can go and get one and show you, hang it up in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, go on. Yeah, I know what a sweatshirt is, but over it, they're normally sort of made with wool. So I don't. Aussies always have their arms out, don't they?
Yeah, well, with the hot weather, tank tops are great. But, you know, the T-shirts will be appreciated.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. No, they do look good. I could show you the design, but it's got the names on the back of it. So I'll give it a week and then we'll do that.
So this is just a football team I follow here, but see how
Yeah.
no arms there, and a lot of Aussies wear these down the beach.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Well, I see. I mean, probably a lot of people wear those in Florida anyway. Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. So, well, I'm going to. I shall write that on my list. Definitely. Tank top. Right. Okay. Let's just because I was talking to Misty earlier about Elon Musk. Has anyone seen that interview he done with that? Oh, what's her name? Tammy Pinton, whatever her name is. He did an absolute couple of brilliant clips. Have a listen to these.
People. It's just normal people. It's just normal people. And and here are the principles. And tell me which of these sound terrible. That we should have secure borders. That we should have safe cities. That we should have sensible spending. Which of those three are far right fringe? And I would like to just admonish you and the media for the absurd characterization of the far right. It is false and misleading and nonsense. Please keep this part in.
We'll keep all of this in, but let me
cut this part.
Let me push that.
Right, now this interview was brilliant. I've watched the whole thing. It's on my Telegram news. But she was calling people far right, but you're followed by the far right. He's going, normal people, you mean? It was superb the way you shut her down, but this next one's even better.
Politics. You don't even live there.
I think of it as the sort of the West collectively.
But do you see why this makes people think that this man who has all this power, he's the world's richest man, he thinks he has a right to influence our politics? It makes people, it's why, we started this conversation saying superlatives. It's why people loathe you. I mean, some people do loathe you.
Yes, some people do.
But do you understand why? Do you think what you're doing is helpful for Western democracy?
Maybe some people do loathe me. And that's probably true. I don't care. But the fact that, as you pointed out, 250 million people follow me is that I think a lot more people actually like me than don't. And I think a lot more people hate you and the media more than you realize.
I love it.
Yeah, I thought, I saw people posting these clips and I went to find it. You couldn't find it straight away because it had a paywall with The Economist, I think it was. The Economist. And but then it doesn't take long for someone to upload it and stuff. So I downloaded that straight away, posted it in my Telegram channel. But it's a great interview. I think I've got about 20 minutes left of it, which I shall catch up on tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, that's stunning, isn't it? This is Trump coming down the escalator and you are fake news.
Yeah. No, that was brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah, we need more of that. Again, I know that Fox has changed a lot and there's a lot of stuff on the media that has changed, but clearly when Trump was not aired by those particular networks out there, that's a violation of the Communications Act of 1934, and something has got to be done. The longer it waits, the worse it will get. Yeah,
definitely. And I know there's loads of stuff going on at the moment, but just one last thing to mention is that the US State Department did call for the US State Department has issued a worldwide caution due to elevated Middle East tensions, warning American citizens across the world to exercise increased caution as the conflict with Iran increases. So I just thought that's very interesting, the fact that we're, really getting into the thick of this. And I know you mentioned Red October earlier, Chris, and we've been waiting for it for about 6 years now. You know what I mean? But I think it's coming.
Well, funny enough, I've been talking about the EBS for years, and people said, "What the hell's the EBS?" And I said, "Oh, it's the emergency broadcast system." They said, "Oh, that's American." But recently, they've been pushing the Australian alert system, and now people are saying, "Oh, yeah, I remember you talking about that." They said, "What is it?" And I said, "Oh, well, they're going to have here on Monday in Australia. They're going to have a test run of the EBS, or the Australian Alert System, whatever it's called." And I said, it's designed for, if something happens in the world and they need us to go home and stay there and be good little people, that this alert will go off. And they're going, "Oh, okay." So it makes you wonder if things are getting closer now that they're actually bringing this alert system to Australia now and making it in very much in the public eye, because all the normies are talking about it.
Yeah, and let me just add, Q Drop 34, which everyone's read a million times if you're in this game, where it says this: "We will be, however, the atmosphere within the country will unfortunately be divided. So many have fallen for the corrupt and evil narrative that has long been broadcast. We will be initiating the emergency broadcasting system during this time in an effort to provide a direct message, avoiding the fake news to all citizens. Organisations and or people that wish to do us harm during this time will be met with swift fury. Certain laws have been pre-lifted to provide our great military the necessary authority to handle and conduct these operations at home and abroad," which suggests to me that if this EBS goes off, it will be worldwide. And we are seeing so many interruptions in TV programs and Trump speeches now. Emergency broadcast, the backdrop at the UFC fight 250, that was all the EBS colours, wasn't it? So
I do watch the football on TV twice a week. So I do watch TV, but not it's only while the football's on, a couple of games. But I'm noticing when I'm putting it on, the broadcasting is just interrupted. It keeps coming in and out, and it's shocking. But obviously something's happening. That they're getting something ready behind the scenes.
And lots of people having problems with rumble stuttering and going in and out that I've seen over like the last month. So definitely things happening.
Yeah, and the internet. My internet goes up and down all the time. Sometimes I'll get home, put something on, to put something on to listen to, whether it's music or whatever, while I'm cooking dinner, and or watching your show, Stu. and and sometimes it takes up for ages just to load up. It's terrible.
Yeah, bless you. Well, we keep watching regardless, don't we? There's so much going on. We might as well wrap it up here. I've got things to do later, so that's great. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Like I say, you're the first person to come on from Australia, and we'd like people from all around the world to come on. And how did you find it today? Good?
No, it's fantastic. Pretty easy to hopefully I brought a lot of information from Australia for you guys, because obviously you wouldn't hear much about what's going on down here, but as I said, the normies are still fairly asleep here, but hopefully they'll get a massive awakening soon.
I mean, I've got friends in Australia, especially one of my best friends lives in Perth with her husband and their 3 kids. But, she listens to what I do and stuff like that covertly. She's not ever in the chat or anything like that. But they're still engaged in normie life. They still live a normie life. What?
They got belted in Perth, through the COVID. Just from the premiere they had there, and same with Victoria and Sydney, Queensland, they all got belted. But South Australia seemed to get away with it a bit. But obviously, when you listen to Rachel Vaughan, which you had on, she I've listened to a lot of her stuff recently, and you know, that they've got a pretty big stronghold here with the Freemasons here. You know, the head of the sort of Freemasons here. So that's probably why they didn't go so hard here in South Australia. Maybe, who knows? Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, keep fighting the fight down there, brother. It's a pleasure to have you on. Misty, any last words? It's lovely to see you today, Wing Girl.
I enjoyed today's podcast. Good to get back in the swing of things with you all. And I look so forward to meeting you at the Florida Summit. I think it's going to be a great time. And we're just going to keep on keeping on.
Yeah, exactly that. So, yeah, everyone, have a really good weekend. If anyone watched the show yesterday, I found this new guy, Tartanium, on Twitter. I've sent him a personal message, actually, but he's been making some great videos. So I've put another one of his on for the end today. So, lovely. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Brilliant to see you. Thank you, Misty. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Elisa, for joining for longer than I thought today. That's amazing. Everyone have a great rest of your weekend. I'll be putting out all the schedule for next week. Tomorrow, Elisa will be putting out the newsletter with all the schedule on it. So if you haven't subscribed to that, patriotscrossthepond.com, just put your email in join the fight pop-up and you'll be notified. And where we go, one we go all.
Yeah.
Take care.
See you later.
Bye.
Thanks again.
Anonymous posts dropping, hidden predictions, proofs confirming, lies and deception fading, sleepers around us waking, storm of disclosure brewing, brilliant light of truth shining, endless web of lies crashing, sound of real justice rising. Is truly happening what we awaited approaching. Invisible strings of control snapping, deep state puppets frantically dangling. Those who were hunted now do the hunting, long-awaited justice finally coming. Innocent children joyfully playing, suffocating darkness rapidly fleeing. Unified patriots together singing, victory bells in the distance ringing. Everything's really happening. The great awakening. Desperate media keeps spinning false narrative, rapidly breaking. Whole weary world in suspense keeps turning. Cue drops keep perfectly proving. Masterful plan was never once failing. Hidden timeline of fate revealing. Forces of good steadily winning. Endless victory, not just fleeting. Evidence piles are relentlessly mounting. Cue crumbs from years ago keep confirming. Corrupt old cabal visibly crumbling. Arrogant elites nervously squirming. Mainstream illusions totally failing. Brave heart patriots boldly rising. Entire planet is quietly transforming. Wave of awakening spreading. It's happening now. We're living the happening. Trust the plan, it's happening. Storm is happening. We are the happening. Where we go, one we go.